Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and welcome to CBT Therapy Episode 9. I'm going to be going through this book about social anxiety. Yesterday I had my last meeting with my therapist, and he basically told me yes, I can finish this book on my own, but this is the last meeting I'm having with him. He will be calling me during the summer to just check if I managed to figure out get some new therapist or something like that. But I had a really bad day. I've had a bad week. But now, today I managed to sit down with my boss and my supervisor and do my plan for my residency. And that felt good. And also my boss gave me a compliment about how I was really the best basically at taking care of the medical students. And maybe that could be a part of my residency, is doing an improvement project. We have to do an improvement project as part of our residency about how we take care of our younger colleagues. So that was pretty flattering, and it is kind of important for me that the medical students get a good experience, because I remember how it was to be a student. Anyway, so I've been feeling a little bit better, even though I have only slept 3 hours last night, so maybe that's why I'm a little bit hyper. But this episode is going to be about different examples of exposure therapy, because now we're on our own, okay? I am on my own with my therapist, and I need more ideas of different exposure therapies I can do. So they have this according to what problem you have. So the first problem is to speak in front of a group. So it says, be active during meetings. Say what you think or during your meetings, or discuss something. Ask questions and answer other people's questions. If an opportunity for a presentation comes up, take the opportunity. The other one is to go on lectures and ask questions at those lectures. So either for your work or at school, or outside of that, like at the library or at the museum. There are different courses and things that you can do. Or just going to the library can be a part of that. The third is to be part of a course where you have regular sessions, and that you have the opportunity to do presentations is the best. But it could even be a course where you have the ability to ask questions and be active during the lectures. To be part of a different meetings. That's number 4. So number 4 is, for example, if your town has political meetings, or if you go to parent-teacher meetings, if you're a parent, or going to association meetings or information meetings, pretty good thing. Another one is number 5 is to hold a speech at a wedding or at a party. And number 6 is go to a course that is about learning to do public speeches. So one of those is Toastmasters, which was recommended to me in my first semester of medical school. I remember that I was having a hard time doing presentations, and somebody said that, but then I couldn't take it in because it was already so overwhelming being new in Sweden and not knowing the language. I didn't want to be part of... I needed help with the language at first, so I did not take that opportunity right then. But yeah, that is something that can be good to do. Or a number 7 is go on a drama or music class. So it's a class where maybe you're doing it individually or with others, but then you have a presentation, you have a concert, and people are looking at you. So that's, or a theater group or choir, that kind of thing. So then we get to the next part, which is about conversations, small talk, just socializing around other people. So number 1 is bring people home, invite people to your house, either your colleagues or your friends. Make sure that you're not distracting yourself. Like speak to those people, engage with those people. Some people just stay to the kitchen and use that as an excuse to take care of the guests. Not me, because I hate when people can see me making food, but that's a separate problem. That's number 1. Number 2 is speaks to strangers, either in line or at a bus station or when you're in an elevator. Be careful though, because some people might not want to speak because they're shy or they're stressed. But in general, people will be positive to having a small conversation. For me, what happened is that I met my therapist yesterday, and I was kind of in tears because my week hasn't been going well. And then he and I left, and then when I went to the store, and then I realized, oh, this didn't end well. This is the last meeting I have with him. I wanted to show that I was thankful for everything that he's given me, which is a lot. So I went and bought chocolates and card, and I wrote a thoughtful card in public. So I wrote it down while I was in the store. There's some chairs and tables by the entrance of the store. So I sat and wrote in public, which is one of these things on the list, by the way, for people with social anxiety. And then I left. I went back to the therapist office. The door was closed, and there's the waiting room, and you can't enter the corridor of the people who work there unless you have a code, which I don't have. So I was knocking on the door, and nobody was there to open the door. And I was standing there pretty awkwardly, what am I going to do with this? And I knocked again, and the people in the waiting room were just staring at their phones. And I asked a question. I said, I had an idea, oh, well, can you give this to the secretary inside when you have your appointment? She did. Her eyes did not leave her phone. And so I said it again. And then she looked up, and she looked annoyed. I was like, oh, sorry, But she pointed at the door, and there was somebody who was, really close to the door. So then I knocked again. And he didn't listen, so I knocked again. Then he opened the door, and I could give this to the secretary. And the secretary was really happy about that. And so, in general, people are happy that you do nice things. Things that are for other people, But if I'd left right when that person in the waiting room had not responded, then I wouldn't have been able to give my gift. So it's okay. Maybe don't do this exposure therapy in a waiting room full of really stressed people. But it's a good thing. So that was number 2. Number 3 is to ask about your way or the time. and ask a lot of people. The third is, the fourth, go to social events. So class meetings, staff meetings, parties, different fairs, that kind of thing. Next one is speak to your colleagues, ask them how their weekend was. That's just small talk. Most people like talking about their weekend plans. Another one is talk to your neighbors. I don't like my neighbors, so it has been better. But like speak to them if you like meet them by the letterbox, that kind of thing. Maybe treat them to a coffee or go on a walk with them. Next one is kind of similar. It's speak to people who are out with their dogs, because people love talking about their dogs. So ask like, what's his name, or what's the race he is. Next one is speak to cashiers in the shops. For example, does this shirt fit me well? Or do some kind of like reservation of a book or that kind of thing. But another thing is just small talk. And for me, there's this guy this is cashier that's really, every time we always joke about how I'm always using the store card and swiping it for like, and like I save like 20 cents, but I'll always swipe the card, even if it's just 20 cents. And he'll be like, oh, it was 20 cents less. And I'll be like, oh, thanks, And I say, well, everything adds up. And so we kind of laugh. So I always choose that guy when I go to the store, because I always get a little bit embarrassed when I do this, but it kind of feels like special, like he knows me as the person who swipes the store card every time and buys the same box of tomatoes every time, So it's kind of fun to be like the stranger at the store that is kind of a regular. So that kind of thing. Give or take compliments. I know a lot of people on this channel have trouble with that. Sometimes it just is good to say thank you when somebody says a compliment. You don't need to explain why you don't deserve a compliment, because you do. You deserve all the compliments. And if somebody has changed their haircut, maybe comment on that. Or if they are nicely dressed. I am usually a little bit oblivious to that kind of thing, but sometimes I notice it and then I try to make a point of saying something. But it's not easy. Another one is to give your opposite opinion, a controversial opinion. Like everybody's like, oh wow, this film was really good, and you hate it. So then you say, oh well, I did not like that film, or that kind of thing. I think the INFPs, we don't have a problem with that. I think that this is more an FE problem. I wouldn't recommend doing that too much, because then people just find you contrarian. Often like everybody's like, yeah, let's go and eat pizza, and then it's like the one person who's like, oh, but I'm lactose intolerant, and it's like, or gluten intolerant, or both, and it's like, oh, that's a letdown. But if that is something that stresses you out, then that is something that you should do. To be part of conversations in general, to speak to parents about their children. It's the same thing as the dogs, but if you know about their children, then talk about them, because people like to talk about their kids. Another one is meet up with your friends at a cafe or that kind of thing. And be part of a sports club or an organization, an aerobics class, a bowling club, or you could be part of the Red Cross, where you have like some kind of training or some kind of meetings once a week, that kind of thing. And next one is eating and drinking and others in front of others. So for me, it's mostly the cooking the food, making the food that is the stressful bit. But one of them is eating lunch with your coworkers. And the next one is number 2 is bringing a glass with you when you go to the party, if you're scared of your hand shaking. Some people use that as a coping mechanism to always have a drink in their hand. But so maybe it would be the opposite, like not having it in your hand. Eat at a restaurant, either alone or with somebody else. Try to place yourself in the middle of the room where people can see you when they pass by. This one is good for me, is to bring home people to my house to eat dinner. But another one is eating dinner at other people's houses, because there you have less control over certain things. Eat alone at a restaurant. And then next big theme is to write while people are looking. So, for example, signing your name or writing up forms or writing a letter while you're at a cafe or on a train or at the park. I like to journal while I'm on the train. I like the ideas that come. But maybe avoid doing that if it's going to affect your privacy. Like if you sign a piece of paper at a bank, maybe keep that a little bit private. But otherwise, I wrote, for example, the card that I wrote to my therapist. I wrote that in the middle of the store where a ton of people were passing by and wondering what I was doing. Next big topic is job interviews. So they talk about role playing with family members or friends. Sometimes once you've gotten over that part, you can try to ask that a person to be a little bit more arrogant or a little bit more unfriendly and see what happens. And the next step is going to work interviews that you're not actually interested in the job, just to practice. It works differently in different sectors. In my sector, everybody kind of knows each other. I live in a small country of Sweden, and like all the doctors kind of know some other doctor through some other connection, you know. So I don't want to just like go to job interviews and say no to a ton of jobs. It is something that I did to collect unemployment money for a month, but that didn't work out really. So I do not recommend doing it in my particular case, but some people, it can be good. Next big group is to be in public or around a lot of people. And in this case, it's a little bit different from agoraphobia, and also different from sensory overload. I mean, for me, I don't like being in places with a lot of people because of the sensory overload of having so many people around. It's not as much that I'm self-conscious in a crowd because I feel like, oh, I'm anonymous. I like that. I like being in places with a lot of people as long as I'm like in a good mood and I'm not like there's not too much noise or that it's way too crowded. During COVID, it was a little bit different because I felt a little bit more anxious about people coming really close to me because I thought, well, I'd get COVID. But nowadays it's okay. It's only like when it's really jam-packed with people, like on the subway. I don't like that. So this is different. This is about, well, you being self-conscious in front of strangers. So one of them is going to the mall or a shopping center. Do it while there's a lot of people. Seek eye contact in crowds. Go to concerts or sporting events. And like choose a spot in the middle. And try to start training at the gym. So that's where there are other people around, not when it's completely empty. I'd like to do that, but I'm not there yet. Next big topic is speaking to authority people. And that is a hard thing for me because I'm always scared of like my boss and that kind of thing. But booking in a meeting with your boss or with your supervisor, your teacher, which is something that I did today and I managed, so that's good. Like for example, if you have to discuss your working, like the sort of things that you do at your work, or sometimes you just have to talk to your boss. So it's better to book a time so that you can prepare it as an exposure therapy. Next thing is to ask a policeman to show you to a certain place or address. Please only do this if you are like cis white and not of any kind of minority. Okay. It's pretty safe in Sweden to speak to the policemen. In the US, policemen have a lot of guns and a lot of... They're scary. Even for me, who's like a white cis girl, you know. If I was black and male, I wouldn't speak to a policeman in the US. I wouldn't speak to a policeman in any other country either, to be fair. Because what happens in the US, you get shot. So just that caveat. Next is to ask for a meeting with your, the person who is at the bank teller. So ask for personal advice for like your economic, private economy, or insurance company. Contact them, call them. That's a good thing. Ask around different insurance companies to get extra exposure, to see like which one is best for you. And then going to certain places, public places, such as the mayor's office, or going to the library, or going to some other official place or public place. So that is all of the different exposures that they give as examples. They also have a FAQ, like frequently asked questions about exposure therapy. A lot of them I have answered in the previous videos, but some of them could be different. It's important to go against like your worst fears, and even like make mistakes like purposefully, to see what the reaction is, and to get the anxiety, get the attention onto yourself. So they have certain ways to fix that. For example, ask somebody to call your phone right when you're in a bad place, for example, at a restaurant or at the dentist. Another thing is to speak really loudly so that everybody can hear you in public. Lose something and oh, I forgot my keys at home, and then navigate that situation. Spill water on your clothes. We've already talked about these. The thing is, when we talked about these, we were talking about behavior experiments, which is slightly different from exposure therapy. Behavior experiments are for your negative automatic thoughts and how to test them out and see if they are correct, and then realizing, oh, they're wrong for the most part, and that way it kind of unlocks this experience. While exposure therapy, yes, it does go against the negative automatic thoughts, but it's also about feeling the anxiety and repeating the experience over and over until you get desensitized to it, that you can do this thing, and the anxiety levels will be high, but then it will go down. So that's what the difference is. But exposure therapy is a little bit coupled to behavior experiments. So that's what they say here. We've already talked about the rest, so I'm going to stop at that. The next chapter will be about social skills, which, those social skills are kind of like how to be, I haven't read all the chapter yet, but there is something kind of, normative about it that I don't really enjoy, but it does give some tips about how to do active listening, how to assert yourself, and that kind of thing. So that's for next time. So even if we are without a therapist, we shall plow through. I only have 2 more chapters left, so then I'm on my own to keep doing what is in this book and build upon that. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. Do you have any exposure therapy that's different strategies or situations that you have tried? I think that I've done pretty good yesterday and today, considering that I've been avoiding doing my exposure therapy because of all of the things that have been happening. But yeah, have a great day. Bye.